material, that would be lovely.
Think of the sound of my own voice after 5 minutes.
Okay, so let's start then.
Yeah, go for it.
Hi everybody, I'd like to introduce Jason Warner, who's a senior locality nurse at Oxford City Learning Disability Team. He is going to talk to us today about a survey that he's been developing, which is specifically for use with people with learning disabilities or autism. So Jason, welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got into this piece of work, please?
Yeah, sure. So, my name is Jason Warner, and I'm indeed the senior nurse for the Oxford City Learning Disability Team, part of Southern Health. Up until very recently, I was also my trust experience. It was about getting good feedback work with, whether that was someone with a learning disability, a family member, a carer, a paid support worker. We were really keen to try and never a nurse, a therapist, an occupational therapist. The team had seen someone and supported them. Once that period of care had ended, we wanted people to tell us what was that like. The idea then is that you start to have an experience by design service, so you're getting genuine feedback.
Can I just pause you there? Sorry, it seems to be switching between the two of us, and I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to see if I can get it to...
Okay, you want to do a test?
Yeah, if we just pause it there for a second, I'm going to try and see if I can get it to just stick with you.
Okay. Nothing's changing my end.
Yeah, it was changing at my end, and I don't know whether it's what it's recorded. So it's now sticking just with you. So that's good. Sorry. So I'll just ask the question again. So how did you get involved with creating this survey?
So about 2 years ago, I've successfully interviewed to be experience and engagement deputy lead from the division in Southern Health that delivers services to people with a learning disability in Oxfordshire. One of the focuses of that was to look at the paper survey that we had. So when a member of our team sees someone out in the community for an episode of healthcare, at the end of it, we give them a survey. And it's fine. It's on paper though. And I thought, well, it's 2016. Can we not bring this into the modern day? Paper's good for some people, but actually, when you're thinking about working with people who have a learning disability, some people can't read. And it works better when you use symbols to communicate. So take this paper survey that's got quite a lot of words and tick boxes, some pictures, get it redesigned by a group of people with a learning disability, which me and the lead in my trust, a lady called Jane Jazz, very dedicated to this idea of making sure you're involving people in the service whenever you can. So they sat down together, redesigned the wording, and as they were doing that, I thought we should digitize this. The best example I can give is when you're at an airport, when you come through the baggage hall, have you seen those buttons, the smiley faces? And you whack one to say, how was your experience today? So it's to develop that idea. Loads of people with learning disability can read, very, very able. But there is another group who can't read, but are able to communicate using symbols and pictures. So the initial concept was an app. So I thought you would download a Southern Health or an NHS app onto your phone, and then you would rate your service, just like when you're on Amazon or eBay, or any of those online places where you buy stuff. That wasn't easy to do. Came with lots of classic NHS questions about confidentiality. So the way around it was to create an online web page that would mimic the paper survey, that would also be accessible on a tablet or your smartphone. So across all of those platforms, what you can do, and I think you can show some screenshots, is say I'm your learning disability nurse. I've come out, I've met you, I've offered you your assessment, figured out what it is you want, and then together, maybe with family or paid support, we've met that health need. What I'd do then is I'd say, could you give us some feedback on my performance? I could give you a paper one, and we'll post it out to you, or I could email you a link, or I could text you a link. And then you click on it and it takes you straight to the online survey, which, as you'll see, there is some writing in it. It would be great to have no writing at all for some people, but I don't think that's realistic. And as I say, some people can read. So the combination there, what we've tried to do is make it as accessible as possible to as many people as possible. And the questions, some of them are statutory, like the friends and family test. You have to have those on an NHS survey. As I say, designed with people who have a learning disability, trying to then get feedback and trying to make the way in which someone would give us feedback as accessible as possible. So I email you the link, you click on it, and then you think, now was Jason any good? So there are, the rating system, it is smiley face, it's like classic traffic light thing, green, amber, red. There's also some free text boxes at the end. So the version for people with a learning disability, again, loads of people can write, loads of people can text, a keyboard. So there's an opportunity, after you've answered some straight up questions about my performance and the delivery of the healthcare from the learning disability team, you could also add in something extra. Some more commentary about other things that I did, other things that I didn't do, or if you had some ideas yourself about what I could have done better. The carers or the paid support worker version, it's similar, but the questions are slightly different because they are aimed more at the person who is in that individual's support network. So the overall aim was our return rate for the paper surveys low. If you're posting, for example, paper forms out, they arrive at someone's house, there's a whole bunch of reasons why then you might not get them back. So if you can't read, or it's dropped through the door, gets put in the pile of post. Maybe you just don't want to do it. Paper, what's that? So the aim was to try and offer this other option for people. But I'm really keen to make sure that people with a learning disability are seen as this, as same as everyone else. So technology is as important. I've got a smartphone, I bet you've got a smartphone. Loads of people with a learning disability who I meet, members of my team meet, and now have smartphones, tablets, and can use them. And actually, there's this growing bank of applications that benefit and enable really good communication. I came across one the other day that has a whole bank of symbols, and when you click on them, it'll speak the word. So bunch of grapes, click it, and it's kind of like a Stephen Hawking-esque voice that says bunch of grapes. But then what you can do, and I think that's been done before. People in wheelchairs who have communication difficulties quite often have the bank of picture bank on the display. You've seen that. This one you can drag and click individual words, eject into fun with it. I was on it for hours actually the other night. So you can see this concept of technology. It's got massive potential for people with communication problems, not just anyone with a learning disability. So to bring that concept into the survey, hopefully the idea then was give people more opportunities and more options, get the feedback rate up, because I think, as with anything, any business, any state or private enterprise, you should be listening to the people that you're delivering to or supporting and working with.
So have you?
So
have you been able to test the service users yet?
So what I did was when we hatched this plan, then I managed to get some money, and I've got to give a shout. There we are. That's very modern. A shout to Health Education Thames Valley, because I made an application to them to ask for some funding to approach a company called Our Outcomes. Just by pure chance, I'd been at this tech fair in Oxford 2 years ago, and I'd seen their CEO, a guy called Tim Benson, present a version of this that was aimed at people with dementia. And I thought at the time, yeah, that would work for people with a learning disability. Not saying that people with learning disability and dementia are the same, they're really not. But if you can provide new ways of communicating, that often is really effective. So I held him in the back of my head. Health Education Thames Valley gave me a good few £1,000s. So I was able to go back to Tim, say, Tim, here's the idea. His company specializes actually in, and this is where I would like this ultimately to go, is in customer, patient, user feedback. But he's got these really good approaches where he can take, for example, there's a GP satisfaction survey he showed me. I think it's national, over 30 questions. He's managed to get it down to 4 questions that will tell you the same things that you need to know about your GP surgery, what people think of it. We could get criticism I have of our survey is it's more about our service than it is about perhaps the individual from being unwell, which is why we've seen them to becoming well again. So I'm hopeful that into the future there's this pilot. I'll get on to when we launch the pilot in a second. Yeah, but when that ends, there's a whole new piece of work that we can do. So Health Education Thames Valley, brilliant. They gave me the money. I have to report quarterly to them. So back to Tim for some advice on what we do next. He said, do a pilot, 6-month pilot. So we launched it in the Oxford City Learning Disability Community Team in January. So team members started sending it out. We also had some business cards made that have got the link on it. So it's got a photo of the clinician that you would have seen or your family member would have interacted with. It's got the URL for the survey on it. So three ways you get your link now. You get it emailed, you can get it texted, or you'll get a business card. It still means you have to type in the URL, so it's not perfect if you've got the card because it's still quite long. There's this concept called Easy Read. It's very common now across services for people with a learning disability, health and social care. Government's starting to produce a lot of what is called Easy Read. So it's basically pictures with as few words as possible. And that's what this is trying to do. It's an Easy Read survey that is as accessible as we can make it for now. I think it could be a lot better actually, but it's a start. I've not seen this elsewhere. I did do some rough and ready searching online, didn't find anything. So maybe we're one of the first in the country to try it. Pilot ends next month.
Ground.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
So you're breaking new ground.
Yeah, if I'm not going to say I am the only person doing this with, because there may be. I would be surprised if someone else hasn't tried it. I think the funding from HETV was vital, and just by it was pure serendipity that I saw the Our Outcomes presentation. The Trust's tech team, our in-house information technology crew, couldn't have created this without being commissioned themselves. So no, I'm not going to go and I'm not going to say it is the only one in the country, but it wouldn't surprise me if it wasn't.
Yeah. What advice would you give to other people who have an idea of something that they'd like to do that's, you know, a new data collection or something like that? What advice would you give to other people who are in your position who might need to try and think creatively about how to go about getting something off the ground?
Sure. There is money out there, even though we are in austere times. I mean, we're seeing it a lot in, I'm sure, across wherever this video may or may not end up. In our team, in the learning disability community team, we're seeing austerity hit at the moment, and a lot of people's lives are being affected. There is money out there for projects. You've just got to be, I think, quite tenacious in that search. Involve the people that you support, whatever area of the NHS you're working in. always make sure that the individual, so for me, people with a learning disability, helped design the original questionnaire. Best place you can go to get information on what it is you're trying to achieve, and advice and guidance. And I think if you really think it is a good idea, if you really want it, it will happen. You've just got to, yeah, this is extracurricular in some ways. I'm now no longer the lead. I had to refocus back on my lead nurse role because I was so busy at the moment. But I found a space to keep this because I think it's really important. Yeah, I think the other thing is getting managerial backup. So my service leads have been really supportive because they could see the benefits in the long term. I think we're quite lucky in that. So the trust lead, Jane Jazz, and other managers are really into this idea that we support people, we need to listen to them, and we need to build our service around them.
That's really good. Can you see the work that you're doing directly benefiting the people that you work with?
Great question. I see the surveys coming back. So what happens is then if it's good feedback, and generally speaking it is good feedback, that you can then share that with the practitioner or the clinician. It's quite often the person will write his name that they were supported by on the form. So that's good for a whole number of reasons. I mean, morale is one. What we're actually keen to do is, it's great getting good feedback. We've got a gentleman who has a learning disability who we employed until very recently. He actually moved to work in social care because our team was integrated and split. Unfortunately, we lost him, but I set him a challenge. I said, we get these feedback forms, we're getting these online returns. How would we present that to the team? Because an email, we got a return the other day and it said, "You're great," or "Really appreciate the support," or whatever. He'd just done his own family tree, so he cracked this idea that we would make a tree on the wall in the office. So he built out of paper a tree, the branches, the trunk and the branches, and then every time a piece of feedback comes in, he makes a leaf, or made a leaf for the tree, stick it on the wall. So it was kind of, there was this nice kind of metaphor for this growing tree of positivity and compliments, particularly as the teams, certainly in Oxfordshire, across the piece, are all under such pressure. So there's something in team that's great, that you get a lot of positive energy out of. And feedback up through all of our governance meetings and divisional meetings. We get less thanks, and that's what I'm really interested in. I mean, not to say I don't think getting compliments doesn't interest me. It does, but if we're really going to improve what we offer, we do other things as well to improve. We run local groups. So in my team, it's a group of about 8 or 9 people with a learning disability. We meet with clinicians once a month, we talk about the team. We bring them ideas. They tell us what it's been like if they've had support from a nurse or a physio or an OT or whoever. So we're doing something there. But the return rate with complaints, I could count them on one hand this year. Maybe it's that we just deliver a great service, but there's a bit of confirmation bias going on with the surveys. There's this other idea that generally people, if they're going to complain, they won't do it on a form. There's also, I do wonder about how we really explore with people who've got a learning disability, how to give them the voice to say when something wasn't good, because we can't assume just because we're not getting complaints that people weren't happy. So there's so much more to do on this than just the app. I think for me, the app, it was about returning the online service. So see, I was calling it the app to start with, because I really wanted it to be an app. But just to have something that was as modern as we could make it, just to prove this point that people with a learning disability can use the internet to just talk about their day-to-day experiences.
But there's been a step change between having no data to having some data, and that's been beneficial to your team.
Yeah, definitely. I think the tree was really, really helpful, and also good for managers to see, because, you know, quite a lot of the time it's often really difficult, complex situations. So to get some positive messages for them, family, and then have it in this visual place in the office was really, really good. But yeah, I'd like to explore in more detail.
Would you be able to take a photo of that tree? Hopefully, I don't know if it would have any sensitive information in it, but I'd love to see that.
Yeah, well, you know what, we had to
the tree, and I love that.
It's evolved because our office underwent this huge redesign to fit more people in it, and they had to fell the tree. The office managers, we were like, no, you leave our tree alone. So then we thought, because loads of filing cabinets got put in the way of it, so we were like, okay, now when you've got OT, occupational therapists on your team, you're onto a winner, because they just can think in ways that the rest of humanity can't. So Laura, one of our OT, said, I know what, we'll do a 3D tree. So she found online an actual sculpture. So it's not a real tree. It would have been cool to have a real bare tree in the office. We just did think about growing one and picking all the leaves off. Anyway, it's about a couple of feet tall, and now she sticks the leaves on it. So it's a real 3D creation. So I could take a photo and email it you. Yeah.
Well, that would be fantastic. I'm going to ask people to take photos of any interesting ways that they do data visualization, and I think that's definitely got to be the most innovative I've ever heard. In
what I would like to do as well, because yeah, what I would like to do as well as the trees, we need something on our website. We're just about to we're changing hands in Oxfordshire. We're going from Southern Health, who are leaving the county, to Oxford Health. So they've got some lead experience and engagement posts. I'd like something on our website that faces out into the community. So you've got some easy read and/or accessible web pages for people with a learning disability, where they can see a version of that tree that makes sense to them. Because although we get the feedback, it's great, well done everybody, but we're not telling the community. So, you know, when you go on any NHS website, you can see the CQC rating. There should be another place you go where you get the customer feedback, as it were. So that's the next aim, a virtual 3D tree.
That sounds fantastic. No, I think that's a great idea, and generally that's a really positive thing to complete that circle, so that the people that give you information get that information back to them, so they can see how that picture looks. Because a lot of your service users won't necessarily know how, you know, other service users find the service, so it will give them confidence that they're going to get good engagement in the future as well.
I think we've not just with this this online survey, just in general, we've come a long way in Oxfordshire, and I mean in other parts of the country as well. We've got really good links with family support, charities. There's a great, I'm going to give them a shameless plug. There's a really good self-advocacy shire called My Life, My Choice, and I've learned a lot through working with them on a couple of other projects. We're making a health promotion film at the moment. You might be interested, actually. I'll send you it when it's done. We're filming it next week. But talking to them about how we in the NHS should be outward facing and as inclusive as possible. It's quite easy to just get into that mindset that you're the professional, and you've got your assessments to do. You've got to do your risk summary. You've got to do your care plan, and then it's all got to be put. Yeah, you've got to make sure that whatever you're doing, we're not here for us. We're here for, and my team is all about people with a learning disability. So it's making sure that we're constantly outward facing and that there's always a two-way conversation going on about what we're doing.
Sounds really positive. I think that's all of the questions that I was going to ask you about, and you've told us loads of great stuff about the project. I'm really excited about seeing your tree. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about it before I close the video and
think, well, as I say, the pilot ends in June 30th. If I can squeeze another month out of Tim, can. The question for me then is what happens next. That question you asked about my advice for looking at projects that they've designed or they want to have a go at delivering. I've got to use my own advice here, because at the moment there doesn't seem to be anywhere I could go inside my trust or my future trust to get more money. But this should be inbuilt permanently. I think if you're going to do surveys, paper's fine, but you've got to have, this is 2017, you've got to have an online version. So that's going to be my next question in the summer, in July. GTV aren't going to fund me beyond the 1st of July. So how do I make sure this is embedded permanently in New Trust Oxford Health and on their website? Well,
would you like to do a quick soundbite that I can put on the our Yammer feed that's asking people for if they want to get involved, and would they, or maybe if there are other trusts or other people working in LD services that could contribute and take it to the next level, not just, you know, contribute some money, but also pilot it in their own area. Would that be something that you'd want to try?
Yeah, because I think this isn't something that is just about Oxford. This is, if you do this, it would work in any trust that supports people with a learning disability, any NHS service that supports someone with a learning disability. So I guess my first question is, are we the only project in the country? If not, please get in touch. I'd love to see other online versions of feedback surveys that are for people with a learning disability, because maybe there are some out there that are just way better. If we are the only trust doing it, then please get in touch and we should pilot it more widely.
That's great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jason. Okay, what I'll do is I'll do a wind-up video. Just a thank you, Jason, for telling us all about your really interesting survey, and yeah. So what I'll do, I'm just going to stop broadcasting it. Oh, it's telling me we're running out of power. I'm going to stop broadcasting, but what I will do